Greetings from San Diego, where we've just completed the Fortune Most Powerful Women Summit. I'm Cathy Tamraz, CEO of Business Wire, and I'm here with the only male that is allowed into this conference, and that is Warren Buffett, chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. And Berkshire Hathaway is also the parent company of Business Wire. Warren has graciously agreed to answer some questions today and kick off a conference that Business Wire and Market Platform Dynamics are holding in New York to launch a new website about the payment industry called pymnts.com. We're really excited about this new launch. This website will be a primary source of news for the payments industry. We'll have breaking news, regulatory news in the payment industry, new technology, and new products. And since the payment industry is so vital to the economy, we thought it would be relevant to talk to Warren and hear his views on the state of the economy and what we can do to revitalize it. So thank you, Warren, for speaking with us today and agreeing to be interviewed by me.
You're my favorite interviewer.
Well, thank you very much. Do you see consumer spending increasing in the near term?
Not for a while. I think people had an experience a year ago that they're not going to get over quickly. But the factories are there, the human potential's there, the system is there. It works over time. Your kids will live better than you and I live. Our grandchildren will live better than they do. This country moves forward. And if you take the 20th century, you know, we had a Great Depression, we had world wars, we had a nuclear bomb, we had a flu epidemic, we have all these things. And at the end of the 20th century, the average American was living 7 times better than the start of the century. It's amazing. The Dow Jones average had gone from 66 to 11,400. So the country works. You don't have to worry about that.
Moving on, I was watching a little TV this week, and I was listening to William Cohen, who's the author of The House of Cards. And he said that if you don't change compensation and how Wall Street is incented, that the same thing's going to happen all over again. And yet, I recently heard that Wall Street is hiring, and they're also guaranteeing big bonuses and compensation packages, which is a little bit alarming if you ask me. So I just wonder what your view is on that.
Well, Wall Street will always be about trying to make a lot of money. I mean, it's the nature of the system. You get a huge capitalist system, and it raises lots of money, it makes lots of big deals, and some people get paid very well for it. What you have to change in Wall Street is you have to make sure that in addition to carrots, there are sticks. And it can't be a one-way street where they make ungodly amounts of money when things are good and then they move on to someplace else for a while when things are bad. So you have to create a downside. And I hope there are some practices put in. I'll have a few thoughts on it myself, but Congressman Deli will have a few thoughts too. But you have to put in something where there's downside to people who really mess up large institutions. And we need some new help in that. Too many people have walked away from the troubles they've created for society, not just for their own institution, and they've walked away rich. And they may not be as rich as they were before, but they walked away better than they should have. So there's got to be incentives not only to get rich, but to behave well.
Moving a little bit more closely to the payment and card system, the Wall Street Journal on September 3rd, they had an article titled "Walmart to Pay Via Check Cards." And so they're not going to issue paychecks anymore. It's all going to be through a card system, which actually is good for the payment industry and the card industry. And there seems to be a growing movement to use cards to dispense payments. I noticed that on some airlines, if you don't have a credit card of some kind, you can't eat or drink anything if you're sitting in economy because they don't take cash anymore. So that's kind of interesting.
Some restaurant just announced that in New York too, that they're just not going to take cash.
So I mean, that brings up to the question is, do you think cash is ever going to disappear as a form of payment?
It won't disappear, but in the end, and that's the genius of the American system, we do give the consumer what they want. I mean, and if people want to have the convenience of cards and all that, they will do it. Now, there'll be enough people that want to use cash that they won't turn their back on them entirely. They haven't given up landline phones entirely for cell phones. They haven't given up black and white television, I guess, for color television. But the American consumer, in the end, is king. I mean, you can push them around for a week or a month, maybe, or something of the sort. But you either figure out what's in your customer's mind and decide they're right and you're wrong and you're going to serve them, or you're not going to be in business. It's what's made this country, to some extent, what it is, a market system where the the customer, 300 million Americans, tell people what to make, where to serve them, how to do business. You know, compare that to some totalitarian system, you know, where somebody decides what people are going to eat for lunch this afternoon or something. We win.
Yeah, we're certainly not used to that. I think the credit card industry is about 50 years old, so it's pretty safe to say that it's going to really transform in the next 10 or 15 years. And sometimes I think we'll have chips in our hands to, you know, hold up and pay for things. And I mean, who knows? All kinds of things will be transacted electronically.
Cathy, I met Ralph Schneider, who with Al Bloomingdale's the founder of the Diners Club back in the 1950s, and he had just designed the diner. They're just using it around New York, and they used to charge the merchants 10%, and the card was very low price then. American Express went into the business originally defensively. They had the traveler's check, and they were worried about what the credit card would do to it. In 1964, when American Express had what they called the Great Salad Oil Scandal, we became, this little outfit in Omaha, became the largest shareholders of the American Express company. I went around to restaurants, I went around to service stations, and I asked people about whether the card was losing its appeal because of the scandal that was going on. They said it isn't losing its appeal, it's growing in appeal. And so I've watched the credit card industry really almost from the beginning in that respect. And we got in early. I mean, I could see it was a powerful tool. And I've watched, First Data was in Omaha. I've seen them all, you know, whether it's Carte Blanche on the Hilton card. Some of those have disappeared over the years, and of course Visa and MasterCharge have come on strong. And been all kinds of developments. But the truth is the American public likes to reach into their pocket and pull out a card.
That was a really great lead into, I had a question about American Express, because I think everyone knows here that Berkshire Hathaway has an investment in American Express, as you just said. So you obviously know a lot about the payment industry and that company in particular. Can you tell us what attracted you to that company?
Well, what originally attracted me back in 1964 was that Diners Club got the jump. They were way ahead of American Express. American Express came in with a very interesting marketing concept. Here was Diners Club, which people already were carrying, and they wanted to enter, and American Express wanted to enter the field. They charged more than Diners Club did for the product. Diners Club had this card which had a whole bunch of flashy little symbols and everything on it, and American Express brought out that Centurion, you know, and originally it was the green card, and the guy looked like, you know, Mr. Integrity. And if you went into a restaurant and you were buying dinner for somebody, and you had a choice of pulling out this Diners Club card, which looked like you were kiting, you know, your checks from 1 month, or pulling out this Centurion, you know, made it look like you were J.P. Morgan or something. I mean, they actually took over the field by establishing themselves not as the low-priced competitor, but as the class competitor. It was a great marketing arrangement, and then it swept the country. I mean, I carry a card in my pocket that says member since 1964.
Mine says member since 1983.
Well, that was the year you were born. I mean, I was 40 years old or so when I did this.
What is the one lesson we have learned from this economic Pearl Harbor?
Well, I think that it goes back, what I've told our managers, just keep taking care of the customer. We're not going to run out of customers in this country. And, you know, whether it's Coca-Cola that goes back to 1886, you know, has been selling a product that people like, you know, and they just keep taking care of them. Whether, you know, you can go up and down the line, and you know, that's what you've done at Business Wire. I mean, in the end, nobody that's ever taken care of the customer has ever lost. I mean, that is the name of the game.
Oh, that's great advice. I want to thank you for your time, Warren. It's been a pleasure talking to you and allowing me to interview you.
Okay, been fun.